Swiss hotel, affords them many more riverview rooms than a square, rooms for which they can charge you more. The look of things is rooted in a practical need, not the artistic whims of the architect. In this case, Harry Weiss. He loved triangles. We'll see more of Harry Weiss's triangular work when we go up the North Branch of the Chicago River. Next on the left, this plain brown box of glass and steel, back to the early 70s, modern style. An unadorned square. It's got a color, but it's dark. Much more visible steel frame. Chicago digs modern because in the U.S., modern starts in Chicago. After World War II, with architect Mies van der Rohe, the first in the U.S. to make a building of just glass and steel without stone, previously unheard of. One of his mottos, less is more. That explains a lot. Behind it, the beautifully curving white balconies of the Aqua Tower. Quite new, it opened in 2010. The curving balconies inspired by natural limestone formations found along the lakeshore. It's by Jeannie Gang, Chicago-based international architectural superstar. These are condominiums at Aqua Tower. The penthouse here is now on the market. The top two floors, 80 and 81. They're asking a mere $6 million. Compared to Trump Tower, that's a bargain. We're going to continue west now after the Columbus Drive Bridge. I want to go ahead on the right. Ahead on the right, a gray stone tower with a yellow onion dome top. Now the Hotel Intercontinental, completed in 1929 as the Medina Men's Club. For the Shriners, a charitable group who get their forms from the ancient Middle East. The onion dome, a typical Moorish or Islamic ornament on an Art Deco tower. Art Deco emerging in the 20s, overtaking Beaux-Arts. Now, speaking of Moorish, let's go ahead to the right at Trump Tower. The wonderfully ornate white terracotta brick clock tower of the Wrigley Building, 1926. Here's our first example of Beaux-Arts Old European style. We want to see rich ornamentation with an Old European influence. Regionally, it's Spanish Gothic. That's a combination of Roman and Moorish visual elements. The clock tower, inspired by one in Seville, Spain. Hi, Paul. Two buildings in one with a walkway in between. White terracotta brick around a steel frame, molded from terracotta clay, plentiful here, but fragile, hard to maintain. Fortunately, the Wrigley Building is a designated landmark. Legally, its owners are required to maintain its visual and structural integrity. We've got a new regime of laws downtown now promoting preservation and reuse of older buildings that are designated. Originally the home of Wrigley's Gum, the original owners of the Chicago Cubs and namesake Wrigley Field. So into the 1980s, it was all in the Wrigley family. Now, building follows the economy. When it's strong, we build. When it's weak, we don't. The Roaring 20s, pretty strong economy. We did a lot of building down here in the 1920s. Typically Beaux-Arts or Art Deco, especially here by Michigan Avenue. Hi, folks. Royal Wave, of course. So now on our time machine, after the DuSable Bridge here at Michigan Avenue, named for that first Chicagoan, Jean DuSable. After the bridge, back to the left, staying in the 20s in the Beaux-Arts style. For now. Here on the left, the London Guarantee Building, 1923. Beaux-Arts, Greco-Roman or Neoclassical. Roman columns by the front door, Greek ones beneath the roof. Then on top, a dome and columns, we call that a cupola. Rich ornamentation, an old European influence. Beaux-Arts, Neoclassical. Let's do one more in this style and era for now. Let's go ahead on the left. This beige box with cupolas at each corner and a central column and cupola. There is the Jewelers Building, 1926. another Beaux-Arts neoclassical design by Henry Altschuler. Built for jewelers, originally with a car elevator at the center. So jewelers could drive into the car elevator in their car, go up to their floor, not have to take their valuables out on the street. The engineers coming through with a design element that would attract the target clientele, jewelers, very successfully so. The elevator no longer in use. Recently featured in the movies Transformers 3 and 4, the giant robots like to fight on that lower roof.
Quay cái Transformer nó quay chỗ này là dựng phim Transformer nè.
Batman lurks on the lower right-hand cupola when he's uncertain about whether or not to remain the Batman. Batman Begins and The Dark Knight were both filmed here. The directors love the Beaux-Arts and Art Deco style buildings to achieve their classic Gotham City look. We continue west after the bridge. Let's go back to the right. Ahead on the right, the iconic Twin Towers of Marina City. Apartments and condos, 1967. Now that's the modern era. We should expect a plain dark box of glass and steel, like here to the right. But architect Bertrand Goldberg gives us a circle of concrete, glass, and steel. So the shape and the materials of Marina City are very unusual for the modern era. It's just for starters.
Phim nào cũng có trong đó đây.
Alright, to me folks, this is living when you can park your boat under your car, under your condo. Each curved balcony is one unit that tapers inward toward the center like a slice of pie. Built in the 60s before it was common to live here in the central business district, so Marina City originally had its own built-in residential business district, including a bowling alley, movie theater, shopping center, even doctors and dentist offices. The original movie theater, now the House of Blues nightclub. Reminds me of the Jetsons. We'll see more of Bertrand Goldberg's distinctive work when we get on the south branch of the river. For now, we continue west. Ahead on the right, this blue-green box of glass and steel completed in the early 80s. Here we're transitioning from the modern to the postmodern. The shape and the materials are modern. It's a box of glass and steel, but the lighter color is postmodern. Built originally for Quaker oats, who were on this river back in the 19th century when it was still an active shipping lane. That's no longer the case. But the older buildings we'll see on the river today were built for the shipping lane as factories and warehouses that are now offices and condos. Great example next on the right. Getting nothing. Now on the right, the Reed Murdoch Warehouse, completed in 1913. Now it's an office building. The style is called Romanesque, for the arches at the top of each column of windows like on a Roman aqueduct. So here's a warehouse from the Beaux-Arts era, but again, form follows function. Beaux-Arts is ornate and expensive, meant to attract people to public buildings and offices. Factories and warehouses of the day tend to be less ornate, less expensive forms, and like Reed Murdoch, on the river especially, brick around a steel frame. We continue west. Ahead on the right, brown brick, green glass, completed in 1914 as a coffee warehouse for Chase and Sanborn. Now it's an office building. So here's the first example of our oldest form, Chicago style, emerging in the 1880s, the decade after the Great Fire. So in front, we want to see three distinct parts separated by horizontal lines of ornament. So there's a base, a shaft, and a capital, like a Greek column, also known as tripartite, or three parts. First example of our oldest form, Chicago style. Nothing to do, by the way, with Chicago school. That's a psychological assault.
Có lần đầu anh lưng hồi nãy đi gặp giả sử không?
Now on the right, the massive merchandise mart completed in 1930 in the Art Deco style, which overtook Beaux-Arts in the 1920s. Commissioned as a warehouse by Chicago retailer Marshall Field. It's now an office building. Another warehouse, now an office building. To the right, above the street level, a series of greenish busts. That's the Retail Hall of Fame, honoring great American retailers like Edward Filene, F.W. Woolworth, and Chicagoans Marshall Field and Montgomery Ward. Merchandise Mart now primarily a wholesale furnishings, sales and distribution center, but it's also now the home of our burgeoning e-commerce community. It's not tall, but it takes up the entire city block. Still has its own train stop. Originally had its own zip code. That is still among the largest office buildings in the U.S. Merchandise Mart. Straight ahead now is Wolf Point, where the three main branches of the Chicago River converge. Down to the left is the South Branch of the Chicago River, which continues south-southwest, next to the Sanitary and Ship Canal, then to the Illinois River, southwest across the state, to the Mississippi, down to the Gulf of Mexico. Here then is the river system that inspired us to go to the trouble of building a city on a swamp. Swamp aside, it's the only option back in the day. From Lake Michigan to the Mississippi, that means traffic, that means revenue, and we dig revenue. To the right next for us, the North Branch of the Chicago River, which continues a number of miles into the northern suburbs, to the source of the North Branch, which is actually a tiny stream. As I say, business follows the economy. Our economy is recovering, evidence all around. New construction, all 3 points here, Wolf Point, which most of us are happy about. Now, as we head north, we leave the business district behind, so on the river downtown, it gets mostly residential. Ahead, this curved white tower, River Bend condos, opened in 2002. All of the units designed to face east, down the main branch of the river. Water views are the most valuable, so the hallways and entrances are on the other side. Now, they might not be too thrilled about the new skyscraper going up on the right, which is going to block the view. Let's talk a little more about value. Near the business district, downtown on the river, there's a formula. The higher you go, the more you pay. The better your view, the more you pay. The closer to water, much more. So for a condominium in this neighborhood, I'm going to start you at $150,000. For a closet near the ground floor with a great view of the parking garage next door. You want mo better, you pay mo better. Now we're also going to see town homes, much larger, multi-level, like single family homes, like here at the base of River Bend. For a town home on the downtown riverbank, let's add a zero. We're going to start at $1.5 million. Next on the left, Fulton Hall, completed in 1908. Oldest we'll see, built as a warehouse. Now it's residential and it's being refurbished. Here's another warehouse from the Beaux-Arts era. This one is Chicago style. 3 distinct parts separated by horizontal lines of ornament, base, shaft, capital, like a Greek column. So it gets more and more residential as we continue north. Next on the left, unique triangular townhomes. 2 of them here by Harry Weiss, who did the triangular Swiss Hotel. 1988, they were new. We'd lost the manufacturing base downtown. We'd started to clean up the river, and we're finally able to market valuable residential riverfront real estate. So after the Kinsey Bridge, we'll go just a bit further, and then we turn, going into a residential neighborhood. All the high-rises ahead in sight on either side, apartments and condominiums. Next on the left, from the early 90s, we're going to see more riverfront townhomes. Now, if you spent $1.5 million on a riverfront townhome, you get to ask me to step away from the mic to lower the noise. It's called clout.
Không chịu nổi luôn.
Xử lý nè. Xử lý nè.
That's actually kind of scary. Like when boats come through.
Nước không? Sỏi không? Sỏi không? Không biết nữa. Mùa hè nó An Giang. Trong cái nhà báo kìa, Chicago Sun Tham kìa. Okay. Con đi lên đó con cẩn thận đó.
Ngoài ra
Nó không có poster cho mình. Cái này dẫn lên đứng đi. Cỡ người ta đuổi xuống thì đi về đó, ok. Hồi nãy không chưa coi giờ. Rồi 12:30 nhưng 12:30.
Heading back south, back towards Wolf Point. Then we're going to continue south under the next bridge ahead. Go down the south branch of the Chicago River, where we see dead ahead downriver dominating the skyline. Plain black rectangles of glass and steel with two broadcast antennae. That is the Sears Tower, 1973, by Skidmore, Owings and Merrill. Modern style. Second tallest building in the United States. second now to the New World Trade Center. 110, excuse me, 110 stories to the roof, 1,450 feet. Always slightly taller than the Old World Trade Center, easily 200 feet taller than Empire State, second tallest in the U.S., 12th tallest in the world. Built originally for the retailer Sears Roebuck. Recently they moved out, and the Willis Insurance Company moved in and renamed it for themselves, which we systematically ignore. So, we'll talk more Sears Tower, we'll get right up to it, and see it from the other side. Now, back at Wolf Point. And on the left, one of my favorites, this curved green gem, the Nuveen Investment Center, 1983, among the first of the truly postmodern designs downtown. A new generation of architects abandoning the plain, dark, boxy, modern look like Sears Tower for something more shapely and more colorful. More glass, less frame. The glass here engineered create that beautiful reflection. The color and curvature of the building inspired by the color and curvature of the river. An influence of architect Louis Sullivan, a rival of the great Daniel Burnham. Both Burnham and Sullivan working here in the 1890s with differing visions. Burnham wants to copy old Europe, Beaux-Arts. Sullivan said, that's old school, make it new. Get your forms from local nature. Both Burnham and Sullivan continue to influence us. By Cone Peterson Fox, 1983, still beloved, and pretty much the beginning of the real and true postmodern look downtown. All right, under the Lake Street double-decker bascule drawbridge, down the South Branch. Folks, as we head south, for now, I'm going to favor the left. We'll catch up on the right on our way back this way. Christopher's got the air horn. We're trying to get these slower amateur boats out of the way. Now on the left, the short brown brick building, 1908. Technically a skyscraper. That term means there's a steel frame within the brickwork. The frame makes the skyscraper. The frame technology perfected in the 1880s. First put up a frame, iron, later steel. Then add the rest of the materials. With the frame, it was the first time we could go higher than 16 stories. Also to the left, the Central Business District, which we call the Loop. The nickname Loop comes from the circular route the elevated trains now make around it. So when, not if, a Chicagoan directs you to the Loop, they're going to do it. Oh, that's in the Loop. They mean the Central Business District. Now on our left, east of the South Branch of the Loop. So again, our oldest form, Chicago style, 3 parts like a Greek column from the 1880s. Then in the 1890s comes Beaux-Arts, Old European. Then in the 1920s comes Art Deco. Ahead on the left, past the bridge. This gray limestone tower, the Civic Opera Building, 1929. Art Deco style. Overtaking Beaux-Arts in the 1920s, emphasizing sleekness and verticality, de-emphasizing older European forms. At the base of this office tower, a sumptuous opera house, right out of Old Vienna, still the home of the Lyric Opera of Chicago. We'll stay with the Opera House building on the left. So the windowless facade to the left is part of the Opera House. We don't want windows into the Opera House. Offices above. Art Deco style, a sleek central tower of stone around steel coming to a point over 2 smaller structures on either side of the base. Then a recess inward makes it look like a giant throne facing west. But here we do also have Beaux-Arts neoclassical ornament beneath the windows, the comedy and tragedy masks of ancient Greek drama to represent the Opera House, perfectly appropriate here. Designed by the firm of Graham Anderson, Probst & White, who inherited the firm established by the great Daniel Burnham, the of the World's Fair, the White City, and the Beaux-Arts movement. exchange where we trade currencies and commodities. The building is from 1987. It is postmodern. Note the corners of the office towers going all the way up, called the serrated design, like a serrated knife. Now the corner office on a floor is the prestige office, most desirable. With the serrated design, you get 4 prestige offices per corner rather than just one, because form follows function. The serrated design is not artistic whimsy, it's business pragmatism on the part of the designers. The firm of Fujikawa Johnson, the Merck, 1987. Let's go back to Sears Tower. Again on the left, Sears Tower, 110 stories to the roof. Now, here on the western side, just below the roof, 4 plexiglass balconies sticking out. They'll come in and out of view above and between the buildings. That is the 103rd floor, 7 down from the top. The entire floor is an enclosed observatory called the Sky Deck, where you can see in all directions on a nice day. But if you have young children, they're going to drag you out onto the balconies, whether you are ready or not. Coming back into view, kids like to step out onto the balconies and jump up and down on the plexiglass floor. That's just great. Staying with Sears Tower, we're going to see it again between the next 2 buildings on the left from its base all the way up. It opened in 1973, and it was the tallest building in the world for the next 25 years. That really doesn't happen much anymore. Modern style, unadorned rectangles of black glass and steel, a very visible frame. Thick black bands every 20 stories or so going up, which among other things allow air to pass through to relieve wind pressure on the glass and steel. Do the royal wave to the balconies on the 103rd floor Sky Deck Observatory, open every day, 9:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. More Sears Tower later. Back to the right, we can see and hear trains beneath the buildings, a perfect illustration of the elevated street and sidewalk level in the downtown on both sides of the river. So when you're walking down the street downtown, you're not on the ground. You're at least 50